We created an omni-channel advertising strategy for an existing Facebook ad client, extending their ad presence to Google and Pinterest, which ended up doubling their ad revenue. So in today's video, I want to walk you through the results that we've had across these three platforms, what was the split within the campaigns, the overall account structure. So let's get into it. My name is Justin, and I'm the founder of Wizo Media, an e-commerce marketing agency specializing in elevating thriving brands by simplifying e-commerce growth. So to not waste any more time, let's get straight into it. This brand, first of all, is a brand that we've been working with for over a year at this point. They are a brand not focused on scale, but rather focusing on a slow and steady growth as they operate within a very small market. So they have basically a market that is capped. So scaling hard is not really an option for them, but omnipresence made sense because they want to make sure that they can dominate the current market without necessarily tapping on the same pool of people within the same platform over and over again. And for those of you interested in knowing, this is actually a jewelry and fashion accessories brand. So to get straight into it, the overview of the campaign. So the before, essentially, the 6-month period prior to implementing any omni-channel strategy, we had spent about 11.2K on ads. So that's why I'm saying it's a very low spend brand, about 2K or so per month. 6.31 ROAS on Facebook, so 11,000 spent for $70,000 back on ads, which again is not too shabby overall. Then after, so from June all the way up to now, which is technically less than the initial 6-month period that I'm showing right here actually. So it's actually a 5-month period right here. So the 5-month period after, so up until right now, at the time of recording this video, we did double the ad spend. So we've actually went from 11K to 23K on ads, but we more than doubled the revenue. So 165K in total revenue with an overall agency ROAS of 6.89. So maintaining a very similar ROAS by introducing 2 other ad channels. So with that being said, why is omni-channel a working strategy for that client? Well, first of all, again, let's talk about the market. If you operate within a market, within a niche, then you are in a good position. So the thing is, a lot of brands want to extend and then expand to other markets, other industries, get bigger and better, and they just think that bigger is similar to better. It's not always the case. This is actually a brand in a singular Canadian province. So they are capped at about 7 million people max within their audiences, and 7 million would be accounting for the babies and accounting for all the men that basically are not part of that audience. It's only women. So already there you got about half. I'm just gonna guesstimate and say there's about 3 million women within that province. I might be completely wrong, but let's just say if it was all the women, there's about 3 million potential customers. So let's remove anybody who would not be able to be a customer. You're left with about 1 to 1.5 million potential people within your audiences at max. It is pretty limited considering the amount of customers that somebody would have if they advertised across the whole of the US. But the goal is to be everywhere, which is what you could call omnipresence. Because look, there's this quote, I forgot who actually said it, but I heard this once, which is customers don't buy from the best business. They buy from the one they remember the fastest. So with that being said, they don't buy from the business that is necessarily the best. So they won't necessarily buy from the business that offers the most value. They'll usually buy from the business that comes to mind first, right? When you think big enterprise businesses, well, you could probably think that they're the best and because they're that big, but it's not necessarily true. Like there are probably cell phone companies, as an example, who are building arguably better cell phones than Apple is. But just because they're not as big, so they don't have this omnipresence, they're not in front of you all day long, you don't really know much about them, so you'd rather trust a brand that you see all the time, which is inevitably what ends up happening with omnipresence. It's the same thing for me as doing this YouTube channel. Any personal brand essentially leads to building more trust with your potential audience. I sometimes hear e-commerce owners wondering if they're gonna annoy the audience. Like truthfully, maybe you might annoy part of your audience, but at the same time, do you really care if you're gonna annoy the audience or if you're actually gonna grow a better brand, stronger retention rates, and just a bigger client pool? I don't think so. Like in that sense, for a fact you're gonna be in front of more people and people will be able to remember you faster. So that's one. Second point is increased acquisition channels. So we only had Facebook to acquire clients. So now that we actually added Google and Pinterest as acquisition channels, it leads to more and more people entering the funnel. We've actually seen a slight decrease in the customers that came back to the store. So if you look at Shopify, you have the analytics actually top right corner of the amount of customers. So new customers versus returning customer, we saw a slight decrease, meaning that we know that there are more new customers coming to their store. And then finally, it's just a diversification of ad spend. I tell that to all clients that we should at least be on 2 ad channels because being on one is kind of tricky. It's like the same thing people say about info product or service-based businesses. If a business is solely reliant, as an example, on ads, or if they're solely reliant on YouTube, or if they're solely reliant on a specific outbound channel, then at the end of the day, they don't really have anything solid. They're building their business on the back of an existing service or other avenue. Because truthfully, that's what you do when you run ads. You build your business partially on the back of another business, which could be Facebook, Google, or Pinterest. These businesses go, God forbid, bankrupt. If something happens to their algorithm, if they go offline for a day, like we've seen for Facebook last year, you're kind of stuck. You don't really get sales because you're relying too heavily onto one platform. So now that we diversified the ad spend of that client, we actually can see that they have a much stronger strategy. So by the way, I do not know why the screenshot is actually right here. Let me remove it because this is a screenshot from another client from the UK. This is actually, as mentioned earlier, a Canadian client, which that is their real ad account right there. So I just took the last 30 days to compare all three platforms to kind of show you the ad spend breakdown and where the results are mostly coming from. So on Facebook, about more than 2/3 of the ad spend, about 2/3 of the results though are coming from cold audiences. We have 2 cold campaigns running and 1 re-engagement, just because we're testing some stuff on the cold side of things. You can see that the results on the cold campaigns are actually doing not too bad. So 4.28 and 5.5 and 7.13 on our retargeting right here for an overall ROAS of 5.42 on Facebook. If you look at Google, then obviously, and I wanted to mention it before somebody in the comments pointed it out, yes, a big part of the results on Google are from the branded keywords or branded search, which is why I'm actually showing you the results right here so you can actually see the real split in the results. Did we 2x the overall results in terms of ad? Yes. Were all of those newer clients? I don't believe so. Arguably, there is a big portion of that yes is new clients, as you're going to see on Pinterest in a second, but also Google, the cold campaign that we've been running and optimizing, which is a performance max campaign. So the bulk of the spend on Google is going to that one, right? We're spending about $1,100 a month on Google, and about $1,000 a month is on that performance max campaign, and just above $100 on the branded search. So branded search is obviously arguably doing amazing for that client, but if you look at their cold campaign on there, we're doing 4.49 on cold, which is still not too bad when you look at Google as a whole. And then finally, looking at Pinterest right here, it's all acquisition. We're not doing any retargeting at all on Pinterest. We're just doing acquisition for that client. And over the last 30 days, they've actually got 5,800 in purchase conversion value, which amounts to 4.11 ROAS. There's 3 cold campaigns up and running. One that got paused. It got paused because, as you can see, it was at 0.9 ROAS, so not doing too good. The other ones, our creative test is actually doing pretty good right now, so 7.06 ROAS. It's a newer campaign. The older one that we had for a while, but now that we wanted to kind of revamp with newer creatives, was doing 3.96 and still did kind of good over the last 30 days. So going back to the split, again, if we kind of show the before and after, you see Facebook ad spend rose, overall revenue rose a little bit, but the overall ROAS dipped. I mean, the average was 6.31, now it's 4.57. Though I feel like with branded search campaigns, we are recouping a lot of these sales. I mean, for sure, a lot of people are searching for the brands. If you look at Pinterest, that's all cold, that's all acquisition, strictly new clients coming up from there. And then you finally look at Google. Well, as we've seen, there's about 5K or so per month come in terms of purchase conversion value that is strictly from acquisition. So about 1/3 of Google's revenue is acquisition. All of Pinterest's revenue is from acquisition. Over 2/3 of the revenue from Facebook is acquisition, and then 2/3 of the revenue on Google and about 1/3 on Facebook are from retargeting. So that's pretty much it. This is how Omnichannel helped this client double their ad revenue in under 6 months after we introduced this new strategy for them. Again, the goal is not to completely scale up that ad account, even though we'd love to as an agency because we are incentivized to do so as per our compensation structure, but some clients, arguably within their market, it's best not to scale them and rather just to extend on other platforms and then slowly scale them up to a point where we can actually hit somewhat of an audience gap. And hopefully, again, what we're seeing for that specific province is we have a couple clients actually from there. We're usually seeing about $1,000 a day being the max within that province. More than that, you usually tap out the full audience and get very high frequency, so you get about 4 or 5 frequency after 2 to 3 days. So it get up very quickly. So you just need a ton of creatives to revamp. So we don't have that problem yet, luckily, with that client. Now I invite you to join our free Facebook group, which is going to be listed in the description down below, where we actually post every day. So you're one of the first to know about these new YouTube videos. You have exclusivities, so a 25-minute exclusive training on there for e-commerce brand owners about TikToks and also some of the specific problems that people might encounter with Facebook ads. I also myself am interacting with everybody at least on a daily basis, so looking at what people are posting. I've gotten questions about CRO audits, about auditing ad accounts, which I've done on there happily. So again, make sure to join that group. And if you're watching this video and you're an e-commerce brand owner making at least $50,000 a month with your brand, then let's chat together, book in your call in the description below, and let's see if you're a good fit for one of our e-commerce marketing programs. On that note, make sure you check out other videos on the channel for some more useful e-commerce marketing tips, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.